Hello and welcome to Uncut with Lucia, and thank you for joining us. Today, I'm talking to E.A. Smiroldo. E.A. is a novelist, musician, and nuclear engineer. Her latest book, or sorry, it's not a book. Her latest novel, The Silent Count, is out now. So, EA, welcome to Uncut with me, Lucia.
Thank you, Lucia. Thanks for having me.
Yes, of course. And how are you doing today?
I'm great. As you might know, I live in Washington, D.C. This is my hometown, and August is the cruelest month in D.C. It is, you could fry an egg on the ground. It's so hot. But we have air conditioning. I can't complain. Lots of cold drinks. So it's good.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, there is no beach. So sometimes when there is no beach, it's even warmer. Mm?
No beach.
Yeah.
I have to change that. You can find one.
Yeah. And EA, I'm so happy to have you. I had you on the Relatable Voice podcast, and now I'm interviewing you here. And it's not often we have nuclear engineers come on our show. Can you tell us more about your engineering background?
Well, I do have a bachelor's degree in engineering. I studied at University of Maryland, where they have a small nuclear reactor on the campus. So I could actually learn how to operate one when I was in school. And it really, I think it really captured my imagination. I changed my major a few times, electrical and then biomedical, but I settled on nuclear and chemical. So I must say, I think it started when I was in high school. I read an article in a science fiction magazine that said there was some speculation that low-level radiation could actually help organisms grow better. So I made my poor father, my dad was a barber, and he, worked really hard, worked almost every single day. His one day off, I asked him to please drive me to University of Maryland, where they irradiated my seeds for me, and I did an experiment to irradiate them at different levels, and the low-level radiation plants actually did grow better. Once you got to a certain point, though, they all died. Oh. So anyway, that was my science project. So I just love science.
Wow. So it looks like you always wanted to be an, let's say, engineer or a nuclear engineer.
I did. I also had this whole creative side, but the nuclear engineering, as I went forward, I realized it encompassed many things. You have the medical side where we use radiation to help diagnose and help treat diseases. And then you have nuclear power, which I think is so important to the climate change problem because it does not release greenhouse gases and is what they call baseload power. So unlike solar or wind, the nuclear power goes on 24 hours a day, whereas if the wind dies down or the sun isn't shining, unfortunately, other renewable sources are not as reliable. That said, I think we need everything, all types of power. But yeah, so there's that. And then there's the weapons side, which always intrigued me because, I'd like us to be able to use nuclear power, but securely and not have any, nuclear materials or parts go into the wrong hands. So that is actually what I do as a consultant. I focus on weapons non-proliferation.
Wow, we need you. We need your work so much nowadays. Mainly, we really need it. And so, but you are not only an engineer, you've been doing so many things. And You are nominated singer, songwriter, and have won prizes in writing competitions. So have you always wanted to be a writer?
I think also from an early age, my family, I come from a family of storytellers. They just love sitting around and telling stories. My parents are, as I've talked to you about, they're from Sicily. They grew up in a very different era. And I grew up hearing these wonderful stories about the old country and all of our relatives and just the amazing lives they led. So I think the storytelling captured my imagination very early. And my sister and I would make up characters, and our dolls would have these really rich lives. And so that was always part of me. But then, as I got older, I loved creative writing in class. I wanted to learn to play the guitar, and I wrote little songs. So this was always part of my life from a very early age. I used to draw too. So I just loved, I feel like science, math, all those STEM subjects, they're just all on a continuum, because I think you need creativity in those fields as well. To solve a problem, there's always a creative side to it. I think we would really benefit if we brought in more maybe dreamers and thinkers into the engineering world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're so creative. And also, you just published a book. Your latest book is called The Silence Count. And can you tell us a little bit about this book?
Well, The Silent Count is my debut novel. I have written a screenplay before, which was something I just did to challenge myself, and I put it in a contest, and much to my amazement, it won a prize, and the treatment was optioned by a company. Now that didn't really go anywhere, but it made me think, well, I want to challenge myself more. So I had an idea about a novel and decided, well, let's see what happens here. So it's my first novel, The Silent Count. The Silent Count, it does refer to a countdown when you think about, well, it's a thriller, and it is a climate change thriller. So in a way, without even thinking about it, there seems to be a little bit of a ticking time bomb behind us when it comes to the climate. I don't think it's quite as rapid as some people are think that, we're all going to die. I don't quite believe that, but I believe that things are just getting worse, and we're just getting used to it and adapting. But I like to think that there's a technical solution to do something about it.
I hope so. Actually, climate change is a dear subject to me. And your main character is Dara. Am I correct?
Yes.
So Dara has an audacious plan to reverse climate change. So in your opinion, do you think that we can still reverse this situation?
Reverse. I would like to think that there's a lot we can do. And I'd like to think that maybe some of the technological solutions, maybe we haven't even dreamed them up yet. I'd like to think that there are lots of really smart young people coming along that are going to save us.
Hopefully.
Yes, I know. In the novel, the novel is based on something that I encountered in an actual nuclear engineering course as an undergraduate. The first page of my textbook said, and granted, this was an older edition, they changed it since then, but it said nuclear weapons can have peaceful applications, such as building harbors. You can use them to extract oil from shale in a cost-effective way. And you can use them to eliminate certain mountain ranges to create more favorable weather patterns. And I thought, wow, there's a science fiction novel somewhere in that assertion. And I thought, well, someone's got to write it, and nobody did. So I thought, well, why not me? So I've had this idea brewing in my head of maybe a young engineer who has an idea and has a model because the climate gets so bad, perhaps nuclear weapons can be used to eliminate certain mountain ranges and make the world a better place and solve climate change. Nobody is suggesting we actually do this. This is meant to be kind of a satire because it's a thriller. So of course, things are going to not go well in ways that nobody could have anticipated. So my poor character gets caught in a melee of world events and just very bad things that she has to solve. So.
Mm-hmm. And was Dara inspired in a real person, inspired by a real person?
My goodness. Dara is probably built out of she's like a Franken girl. She's built out of little pieces of a lot of people I know. I've met so many people throughout my nuclear engineering life, but she's also a young woman with massive student loan debt and so many of the problems that young people have to deal with. Student loan debt, family issues, her mother passed away in a wildfire years before. So she's got this whole backstory that's, makes her very relatable, I think, to a lot of people. So she's got a lot of personal, and she's very shy and introverted. So she's got to overcome all of this to try to save, because she wants to save the world. You can't be shy and save the world. So
no. Unless you have to be hidden.
So you have to have confidence in yourself. So a lot of that happens in the story, but she wants so much to succeed that she doesn't really consider, maybe this isn't the person I should trust. Maybe I should really think twice about this. And as I said, it's a thriller, so maybe she trusts the wrong people along the way. I won't spoil anything.
No, I can imagine already. I'll be reading your book for sure during my vacations.
Thank you.
Yes, and EA, how does your writing process differ when writing lyrics versus a novel?
Well, writing a song is so much easier. It's only about 3 or 4 minutes long at most. Some of them are less than 3 minutes. So, and then the chorus just repeats. And sometimes you can repeat the first verse at the end. So writing a song is much shorter. It's just, as a musician, sometimes you just noodle around and you just come up with something on the guitar and, you've got something swimming in your head, a melody. So yeah, it's a novel requires so much planning. And then when you plan, you realize, oh, wow, that doesn't work. Or sometimes things happen that change everything in a novel. I really thought when I first started writing this, that climate change would be solved by the time I finished. Sort of like, I don't know if you remember Y2K, the Y2K crisis. Everybody thought, well, the world's going to end. We have to do something. We're going to be living in Mad Max times where people are just fighting each other. And of course, that never happened, but they did prepare for it, and then they solved the problem. So I thought, well, this will be temporary, and then it'll be like an alternative universe book. Needless to say, here we are still talking about climate change, and there are still people who are just not going to accept it or not going to really do much about it.
Some people sometimes maybe they don't even believe that happening. Yeah. And so basically Dara is a Frankenstein, as you said, like pieces of many people. And I think there is something about you.
Well, she does love the rock and roll music, and her ex is someone she grew up with who ends up becoming famous, a famous singer. Just they sort of diverge their paths, and suddenly she has to see her ex-boyfriend become famous, and he doesn't love her anymore, but she sees him everywhere. She can't get away from it, and they still want to be friends, so in that respect, I mean, who hasn't had this experience where, oh, the one they love is no longer in their lives, but they want to be friends and it's just so awkward. So there are pieces of, yeah, my own story that are probably in there. I can't say there was ever any problem with the nuclear weapon in my personal story.
It's
You
the
know,
same.
you have a boss who's not great. She has a thesis advisor who is sort of one of the villains in the story, and she's just this nasty lady who is probably hoping to exploit Dara because she thought Dara's thesis would make her a lot of money, and it didn't. So she really wants that, and it doesn't happen for her that way. So we see her going in a different direction. And anyway, she's a villain in the story. But everyone's had that boss that they're just like, oh, I hate this woman. Or this man. I, you know, so there's.
It sounds very exciting, and I love thrillers. I'm like scared of horror, but I love thrillers.
Oh, there's no horror.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And EA, what can we expect from you next?
So I first of all, the Silent House out, and I have songs in it that I wrote myself, and people can find them. I'm putting them online because I've performed them and sung them, and they're welcome to listen to them on my YouTube channel, EA Smiroldo. In addition to that, I am going to write a sequel. I've started writing the sequel. I've planned a sequel, but I have a feeling it's going to be one of these organic processes where the world is going to, interesting things are going to come up in the world that inform it. So I don't want to just get it all down and then have it be something that doesn't change as the world changes. So there will be a sequel, but it might be a little bit of time coming. And in the meantime, I have been asked to help curate an anthology of short stories for something called Green Stories, which is with the University of Southampton in the UK. And my understanding is these stories will be distributed as a download to all of the participants in the upcoming, it's the Conference of the Parties for the UN climate change conference happening in November of this year in Egypt. So these stories will be available. They're all going to be not just climate change stories, cli-fi stories, but stories that include more of a practical approach to real solutions. So I've started reading them. They're really wonderful. And then maybe after the conference, they want to see if they can publish it so that readers can find it.
Wow, congratulations. You don't stop. And very, very nice. This is you deserve it, EA.
Thank you. I'm so excited.
Yes, you do. And before we go, we are starting a new segment on Uncut. I'm going to say a word to you, and I want you to tell us what the first thoughts what the first thoughts that come to your mind, okay? When you hear that word, I'll repeat this. So I'm going to say a word to you, and I want you to tell us what the first thoughts that come to your mind when you hear that word, okay?
Yeah. Okay.
So let's say family.
Oh, my wonderful father. My wonderful father. My poor mother is no longer with us, but my father he is going to be 90 and he's in great health. Thank God. And I'm so lucky to have him. I have many wonderful family members, but I'm sorry, my father is the star.
Oh, and I know that he's Italian from Sicily.
See, yes, he is. So I'm able to spend a lot of time with him to help him, and I love to make him food that he likes, and recipes my mother taught me. They'll never be as good as hers, but I try. So yeah, he's doing great. Thank God. But you know, he's going to be 90, so I I need to spend as much time as I can.
And I'm sure he's so proud of you.
Oh, yeah, I'm proud of him too.
Yes. And EA, did he read your book?
He is going to read it. I know it doesn't have any bad words. It doesn't have anything too suggested. There is a romantic relationship in it. It's not to the point where I think I have to hang my head in shame. But I have to remember that, I mean, I don't want to have something that I know some people like that, but your almost 90-year-old father is not going to be able to read that.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
I hope he does.
Yeah. And EA, where can we find you online? Tell us your socials. Yes, please show us your book.
Everything is at EA Smiroldo. So EA Smiroldo, Smiroldo. So easmiroldo.com is my website. I'm on Amazon, so you can find me. Just look up the silent count, EA Smiroldo. You might have to scroll down a little bit. There's some other silent counts, but mine is the silent count. So I'm Facebook, EA Smiroldo, Twitter, EA Smiroldo, YouTube, EA Smiroldo. I think it's EA space Smiroldo on YouTube, just space, no underscore. So yeah, and Instagram, EA Smiroldo.
Yeah. And can I show you the cover again?
Sure.
Where is this picture taken? Did you take this picture?
Oh no, I wish. No, this is from a nice website where you can find pictures, but it really spoke to me because well, this is my publisher's logo, by the way, Solstice. So I wanted something that I could put the logo and it would match. So if it was a clashing color, it wouldn't look right. But meanwhile, it's a, this is a funnel cloud. However, notice how it kind of looks like a mushroom cloud from a nuclear explosion.
It looks like.
Exactly. So it's one, it could have two possible connotations, which in the story, it does have a nuclear theme. So anyway, that's where that comes from.
Yeah, I like it, but I'm afraid.
Oh, you'll see. Dara's going to save the world. Maybe. Hopefully. You'll see how things work out. But there's a sequel plan too, so nobody dies. Don't worry.
At least I feel better.
Not a spoiler. I don't think anyone's worried about anyone dying throughout the story. But I don't have guns. There might be some people getting that really deserve it. Getting a little roughed up, but nobody's going to be shot and killed in this.
Wonderful. So EA, it was such a pleasure to speak with you again. Thank you for your time.
Oh, you too, Lucia. Thank you for having me. Such a pleasure.
Thank you. And I would like to thank you also, our audience, for listening to our conversation. And this will be also, you will be featured on wordauthors.org, Uncut with Lucia, and also on our e-magazines.
Thank you.
Wonderful. I wish you success.
Thank you, Lucia. You too.
Thank you. I love you. It's